Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Canto 3 of Srimad Bhagavatam, Chapter 7, titled Further Inquiries by Vidura, text number 40. Etan me prichataha prashnan harehe karma vivitsaya bruhi me agnyasya mitratvat ajaya nashta chakshushaha. Etan me prachata prashnan. Etan me prachata prashnan. Hare karma vivitsaya. Hare karma vivitsaya. Bruhi me gyasya mitratvad. Bruhi me gyasya mitratvad. Ajaya nashta chakshushaha. Ajaya nashta chakshushaha. Etan me prachataf prashnan. Hare karma vivitsaya. Bruhi me gyasa mitratvad. Ajaya nashta chakshushaha. Please chant. Etan me prachataf prashna. Hare karma vivitsaya. Bruhi me gyasa mitratvad. Ajaya nashta chakshushaha. Etan me prachataf prashnan. Hare karma vivitsaya. Bruhi me gyasa mitratvad. Ajaya nashta chakshushaha. Etan me prachataf prashnan. Hare karma vivitsaya. Bruhi me gyasa mitratvad. Ajaya nashta chakshushaha. Etan me prachataf prashnan. Hare karma vivitsaya. Bruhi me gyasa mitratvad. Ajaya nashta chakshushaha. Mataji's. Etan me prachataf prashnan. Hare karma vivitsaya. Bruhi me gyasa mitratvad. Jaya nashta chakshushaha. Etan me prachataf prashnan. Jaya. Brahime Gyasa Mitratva. Jata Prashnan. Hare Karma Vavitsaya. Brahime Gyasa Mitratvad. Ajaya Nashta Chakshushaha. Etan. All these. Me. My. Prachataha. Of one who inquires. Prashnan. Questions. Harehe. Of the Supreme Lord. Karma. Pastimes. Vivitsaya. Desiring to know. Bruhi. Kindly describe. Me. Unto me. Agnyasya. Of one who is ignorant. Mitratvat. Because of friendship. Ajaya. By the external energy. Nashta. Chakshushaha. Those who have lost their vision. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation. My dear sage, I have put all these questions before you with a view to knowing the pastimes of Hari, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You are the friend of all, so kindly describe them for all those who have lost their vision. Purport. Vidura put forward many varieties of questions with a view to understanding the principles of transcendental loving service to the Lord. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 241, devotional service to the Lord is one, and the mind of the devotee who is not diverted unto the many is not diverted to the many branches of uncertainties. Vidura's purpose was to be situated in that service to the Lord, wherein one merges undifferentiatedly. He claimed the friendship of Maitreya Muni not because he was Maitreya's son, but because Maitreya was actually the friend of all who have lost their spiritual vision due to material influence. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurum Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utaf Parakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvetam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostite Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyashta Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vikasa Swami Niti Namine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Sarasvate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Etan me prachataf prashnan hare karma vivitsaya bruhi me gyasya mitratvad ajaya nashta chakshushaha. My dear sages, I have put all these questions before you with a view to knowing the pastimes of Hari, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You are the friend of all, so kindly describe them for all those who have lost their vision. I apologize in advance if my voice goes out middle of the class. It's not very strong, but hopefully it'll last for the whole thing. But we're at the end of this chapter titled The Further Questions by Vidura, where, as is being described, there's further questions by Vidura. This verse here isn't exactly a question, it's more sort of like a clarification for exactly for whom and for why he is asking all these questions. For about the last 15 verses here, Vidura has just been going like rapid fire with all these different questions about so many different subject matters. Some of which, as it's being described here, pertain, pretty much directly to the pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Like, sort of his previous questions have been about, the nature of the spiritual master, about the natures of devotional service, but all of these questions that he's asked seemingly aren't directly related, at least, to the name, form, qualities, and pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But that's only because that most people, they're seeing all these questions from the platform of what's being described here as nashta chakshushaha, or those who have lost their vision. So this word chakshushaha, it means vision, or how we can see or perceive things. Oftentimes, two different people, they can be looking at the same thing, but they can see it completely differently. And this is the same in the case of the world that we live in and with these topics of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So it's important that one doesn't have nashta chakshushaha, but one has shastra chakshushaha, where one is able to see everything through the eyes of Shastra, where one is able to get their knowledge, get their understanding, not just from what they can perceive, but from Shastra. And as is described in Shastras like Srimad Bhagavatam, the best way to do this is to inquire from a self-realized soul, inquire from a bona fide spiritual master, and put forth your questions as Vidura is putting forth here, so we can actually understand things properly, right? Because us as conditioned souls, we don't know what's exactly going on around us. We don't know what Krishna wants, even if we've taken to the process of Krishna consciousness, even if we've come into the association of devotees. It isn't that we automatically know everything. It's important for one to, in order to continue to make advancement, to continue to ask questions and continue to clarify any doubts or misunderstandings that one has. So that's why it's recommended in the different Shastras like Srimad Bhagavatam to approach these self-realized souls, approach a bona fide spiritual master, and not just ask them questions, but ask them questions from a submissive platform. Oftentimes on the street, different people who might seem very interested and like to ask you a lot of questions, they aren't actually asking submissively. Like oftentimes, I don't know if anyone's had a lot of experience. I'm saying that sarcastically because it happens all the time, but a lot of people that seem overly inquisitive, they end up being from other religions just so they can sort of ask you a lot of questions so they can tell you why you're wrong and they're right. Right? This isn't the mood in which one should approach a spiritual master. In that I already know everything. I want to see what little you know so I can belittle your knowledge and put you down. That's the exact opposite attitude. And it requires one to be fully surrendered and fully submissive. And this verse here in Bhagavatam, a couple of words, it reminded me from this verse from Bhagavad Gita. You can pull up Bhagavad Gita 2.7, where Arjuna says, karpanna dosho pahatasvabhava prachami tvam dharma samuda chetaha yat shreyasyan nishritan bruhitan me shishyastehan shadimam tvam prapanam. So if you go up to the Sanskrit first, you can see this word prachetaha is mentioned here in this verse, and also here prachami, where it's this mood of inquiring, this mood of asking. And also this word bruhi, which means to tell or to kindly describe. So here in the Bhagavad Gita, this is the verse where it sort of changes the tone of Bhagavad Gita, as has been described previously, that if you look up until this point in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna and Arjuna, they're sort of having a back and forth exchange where it's like Arjuna is presenting what he thinks and Krishna is presenting what he thinks. And they're sort of going back and forth like this as friends, where, when you're with your friends and you're having a discussion about something, oftentimes, since it's coming from like an equal platform, you're sort of trying to see what I think, see what you think, so we can come to like a general understanding. And that's like sort of what was going on before, where Arjuna was like, I don't want to go against Dharma. How can I kill my family members? And if I do, then there'll be all this unwanted population, and then society and the women of society, they'll be degraded. And it's often described that these are actually very good arguments, at least from the material point of view. But Arjuna is displaying the pastimes here of not seeing through Shastra Chakshushaha, where he's presenting things from the materialistic point of view. He isn't presenting things through the lens of what Krishna wants, which is actually the most important thing. And oftentimes, like in the case of Arjuna, it's not very easy to know what Krishna wants. Because as Arjuna is describing, he's speaking from the platform of Dharma. He's speaking from the platform of, from a material point of view, what's correct, what's right. But it's not actually what Krishna wants. Because the outcome that Krishna wants, as he describes also in Bhagavad Gita, he says, Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyutanam adharmasya tadatmanam shrijamyaham. That when there is this rise of these irreligious principles, sort of millennium after millennium, Krishna, he descends to this material world so he can free the world of this burden that's been created. So Krishna, he purposely orchestrated the whole battlefield of Kurukshetra specifically to relieve this big burden all at once. If like one's carrying something very, very heavy, like oftentimes we have to carry these big totes of bhakta stacks. Like recently when we were in Savannah, because the town is so old, it's like cobblestone streets. So trying to bring the U-line down is like literally impossible. And also the street where we were distributing books at, it was at a lower level because it was right by the river, and there was no, I don't know how they passed like regulation, because I'm pretty sure you have to have like wheelchair ramps and stuff, but we couldn't find any. So we had to carry all these heavy totes down the stairs and bring them to the spot rather than just like, carrying the U-line. So when one is carrying a heavy burden, one wants to get rid of it as soon as they can, and especially if it's very heavy, they don't want someone to just take one book at a time and they just keep on holding it, right? It's much easier if you just put the books down and then you start distributing, if they're not one devotees, they're just holding it for the whole day. So very intelligently, Krishna also arranged this whole circumstance, this whole situation to relieve this great burden of the earth. And this is why it's important that we take instruction and shelter of a bona fide spiritual master. Because the spiritual master, he's close with Krishna. He's Krishna's very dear friend. So he knows what Krishna wants, and he knows how to execute it on the basis of Shastra. So Yeah, and that's what Vidura has been asking about here recently. Even like a verse ago, he describes about what are the necessities for a spiritual master and for his disciples. So this is a very important topic for us to understand, is that what is the relationship of the guru and the disciple? And Bhagavad Gita perfectly illustrates it by this verse here, where Arjuna, the last word here is prapanam, where he's fully surrendering, he's fully taking shelter of Krishna, where he's admitted that you know more than I do, that you are the knower of everything and you know what's actually for my best interest. Alone, I can't possibly decide this. So I'm taking full shelter of you, and I'll take what you say as my life and soul. And we can see throughout the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is able to answer all of Arjuna's questions and relieve all of his doubts. And then Arjuna is able to act on that platform. Because it isn't that one just hears from someone and is like, oh, that was very nice. Thank you so much. Now I'm just going to continue doing what I was doing. It was very nice the way that you spoke. You spoke very, very beautifully. But you can do you, I'm going to do me, and thanks. Right? But this, for one who's actually heard, for that hearing to be proper, it should result in action. And that's exactly what Prabhupada starts his purport off here, where he says, Vidura put forward many questions with the view to understanding the principles of transcendental loving service to the Lord. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 2:41, devotional service to the Lord is one, and the mind of the devotee is not diverted unto the many branches of uncertainties. So this is a very important point here. And you can pull up this verse that Prabhupada's referencing here, 241. Where this knowledge that we're getting from Shastra, it isn't, as we hear oftentimes from the spiritual people, that all paths lead to the same goal. That, what I'm doing is right, what you're doing is right, I'm okay, you're okay, let's all be okay together. But this in this verse, Krishna says, Eka, but this one pointed attention, this one aim, is what should be understood. Krishna says here, those who are on this path are resolute in this purpose, and their aim is one. O beloved child of the Kurus, the intelligence of those who are irresolute is many-branched. So Prabhupada is paraphrasing this translation here in the purport, and this word irresolute, Prabhupada translates here in the purport to being uncertainties, because one who is not very fixed, one who is very uncertain, one who has a lot of doubts in their mind, it's very difficult for them to actually come to this platform of knowledge, right? When one simply takes their mind as their own guru, their mind will take them here, there, and everywhere, right? Because that's the nature of the mind. There's this phrase, right? Speed of mind, because the mind it's so abstract, so subtle, so unfixed that it's very easy for it to wander here and there, right? Like for one who is traveling by like a bullock cart, that's something that's a lot more fixed. It's a lot harder to move, but for the mind can very easily jump here, there, and everywhere. So it's important for us to understand this one aim, this one goal, this one vision that Krishna is explaining, and Krishna is trying to get us to understand. And the next sentence of the purport here, it says that Vidura's purpose was to be situated in that service to the Lord, wherein one merges undifferentiatedly. So this merging isn't this impersonal liberation that is described by the Mayavadis, but it's combining all of our ideas, all of our activities, and situating everything that we have completely in the goal of Krishna, putting everything in Krishna's hands and acting according completely to Krishna's plan, which for most of us, it looks like following the orders of the spiritual master and completely following the orders of the spiritual master, as is, shown to us by our own spiritual master, because, the spiritual master is one who has attained that platform by following their guru, who has attained the platform by following their guru. And this process of disciplic succession, by which the same knowledge has been passed down by Krishna to the guru through the disciplic succession. And it's very important that we make this point very clear, that Krishna came down and he specifically relayed this knowledge to everybody at this time of Bhagavad Gita. In the third chapter, it's described as yogo nashta parantapa, which actually means that the real aim of life and the goal of life, everything was scattered everywhere. Nothing was very clear. Nothing was very fixed. And in that same chapter, Krishna describes that paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya chaduskritam dharma samstapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. That along with incarnating to, uplift the devotees and to destroy the demons, Krishna also comes to make very clear what the exact goal, what the exact aim is. And it's very nice because by having this Bhagavad Gita, by having Krishna's clear presentation of exactly what he wants and how we should live our life, we can have good verification of everything else, right? We're seeing here in the Srimad Bhagavatam that we can see that it's bona fide and it's very true, because it follows the same teachings that we have in Bhagavad Gita that Krishna came directly to give, right? This system of questions and answers here between Maitreya and Vidura, it expands on similar topics in sort of a different way than what Krishna and Arjuna spoke, but it isn't like they come to a different conclusion. All of these narrations that we have in the Srimad Bhagavatam, it comes to the same conclusion that we get in Bhagavad Gita. That one should fully surrender to Krishna. Why? Because Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And everything that we have in this world is not meant for our service, but it's meant to serve Krishna. So we can see that all of these different principles, their aim is one. The Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, they're all trying to bring us up to this platform of how can we actually serve and surrender to Krishna. And that's what the spiritual master really comes to give us, right? It's described here that Vidura claimed the friendship of Maitreya Muni, not because he was Maitreya's son, but because Maitreya was actually the friend of all who have lost their spiritual vision due to material influence. So the spiritual master, he's actually the friend of everyone. He's actually one's best friend. Not in the sense that you laugh with him and you tell jokes. That might also be there for a small portion of time. But the spiritual master is actually the friend of everyone because he's giving everybody the topmost benefit for what they actually need. An actual friend, they don't just tell you what you want to hear, but they actually tell you what you need to hear, right? If you just have people around you that will, tell you that all of your ideas are wonderful, fantastic, amazing, you're the most great, most awesome, best guy in the whole world, then you're actually not really going to get very far. You're actually not going to make much advancement because you're just going to think that you're the most best, amazing guy in the whole world and that you don't need to make any advancement and that the ideas that you have are already sufficient. But by reading through Shastra and by inquiring from the spiritual master, we can actually see how little we actually know and how much advancement we still have to make, which is why it's really important not only for us to have the association of the bona fide spiritual master, but it's also really important for us to stay in the association of devotees. Because if we're just by ourselves, it's very easy for us to get a little bewildered by our own abilities, by our own intelligence. But when one continues to be in the association of devotees, because the devotees are one's actual friends, they'll let us know maybe things we're doing wrong, maybe things we could be doing better. Maybe they'll clarify understandings that we have. They'll be able to answer questions. They'll be able to dispel doubts. And in this way, because of the association of the devotees and the spiritual master, one is able to make a lot of advancement. And it's actually for the benefit of everybody that one comes to the shelter of a spiritual master. Right? Out here in the world, especially I see a lot at college campuses, like when anything is trying to, or when anybody or any organization is like trying to give something to benefit the students, especially when it's for free, that the students, they'll like make like a big line because they're like, I can get something that's for my benefit for free. And oftentimes people come up to the book table and they just ask, is this free? And if you say no, they're like, oh, never mind. They don't even know what it is. They don't know who you are. They don't know what you're doing. They just ask, is this free? And because they're wanting to get something very cheaply that will be for their benefit. So everybody is wanting to get what's for their topmost benefit. Everybody is trying to, at least hopefully, at least for the sane people, they're doing things in their life that'll be for their topmost benefit. So if one has the ability to surrender to a bona fide spiritual master, to fully take shelter of a spiritual master, and to learn everything that they need to know about this material world, about God, about Krishna, one would actually be very unfortunate to not take full advantage of that opportunity. When one has the opportunity to serve the spiritual master, to serve the devotees, to engage in the service of the spiritual master, one should take full advantage of it, because it's like one has the opportunity to get the most important thing that they need for their life, for the thing that's most beneficial to them, but they don't take advantage of it. It's like if you're studying for an exam in college and you're trying to do all this work and someone's like, hey, I already have all the notes, everything that you need to study for your exam, and you can have them. And one who's intelligent, they'll take full advantage of that because it means that they can get what's for their topmost benefit in the most simple and straightforward way possible. So we should take 100% full advantage of it. And some might say, how is this process easy? You have to fully surrender everything, right? I have to hear what I don't want to hear. I have to hear that I'm not the best, most awesome, most amazing guy in the whole world. But this is actually for one's topmost benefit, because if we don't take to this process, if we don't surrender to a spiritual master, we'll just continue to suffer in this material world for life after life after life. We'll just continue to chew the chewed and life after life think that we've finally found the most amazing sense gratification in this material world, just to end our life being unhappy and dissatisfied and so upset that, again, another life where I'm not happy. So we're actually giving people, as we were talking about on the auspicious appearance day of Lord Chaitanya, we're giving people the highest, most sought after thing, and we're giving it to everybody, regardless of what their background is, regardless of what their religion is, regardless of what their social status is. We're going to all different places in the whole world. We're going to college campuses. We're going to Comic-Cons. We're going to streets where people are extremely intoxicated. We're going to intelligent people also. We're trying to distribute these books to professors, to scholars, anybody. And I often tell people, because they often ask, what are you guys doing? Who are these books for? And I describe to them that these books are for you. These books are for everybody here, because the first teaching of these books, right, is that we aren't this body. And that's the main problem and why everybody's suffering so much in this world, because everybody's over-identifying so much with the body. Just the other day in Savannah, Georgia, where I was at, pretty much the first guy that I talked to, and he was intoxicated like everybody else, but he was describing to me that he had just gotten a divorce, and he's like basically living from like check to check, trying to make ends meet, and he was suffering so much in life, and he didn't really have that much money, but he gave me pretty much everything that he had, which was like a couple dollars. I think it was like $2 or $3. And I gave him a Science of Self-Realization. And this was like the first guy that I talked to. It was actually as we were carrying all these heavy totes back and forth. I distributed him a Science of Self-Realization. And as we were going through the book distribution, I was seeing him walking down the street reading this book, actually. And about an hour later, obviously he was drunk, so his like emotions were like a little crazy. But he was like basically like crying, and he was like, this book, it was exactly what I needed. I've just been reading this book for the last hour, and I've finally been able to understand that I'm not this body, and that I've been suffering so much because I'm thinking I'm this body. And obviously, he was like intoxicated and all this other stuff. So in 1 hour, he had maybe read like 20 pages or something. But he was like, I'm eternally grateful to you for giving me this book. And it came to me at the exact right time, exactly when I needed it. And meeting you and getting this book completely changed my life. So the information that's in these books that have been given to us by Srila Prabhupada, that have been given to us by the spiritual master, it's actually what's for our topmost benefit. And if one doesn't take full advantage of this, like oftentimes, we people aren't as fortunate as this homie that I met. But oftentimes we hear, I'll come back later. Or one amazing one that I've been hearing recently is, I know this is what's best for me, but it's not best for me right now. And if it's best for me, it'll come back to me when I need it. I've been getting that a lot recently. And I just say, thank you so much. But when one doesn't realize this great opportunity that they've had, where they're meeting devotees, they're holding these books in their hand, and all they have to do is, surrender a little bit of their Lakshmi, surrender a little bit of their money. Money one can get very easily at any point in time, right? One just has to beg on the street for like a whole day, and they can pretty much get $15. They don't even have to have like a job or anything, right? But pretty much most people, they have jobs, they have money, they have resources, they have facilities, but a lot of people, they think that their little bit of money is more important than what they can get from these books, because they've completely lost their spiritual vision due to the material influence as what's being described here. So that's why it's very important for us to canvas for these transcendental literatures, to go out there and tell people why they need these books. Because unless we do that, the people, they won't know why they need to read these books. People won't know that their life is just completely meaningless, suffering. People, they'll just be continuing to see everything from the material vision. So it's therefore very important for us to act as the friend for everybody. And basically, I don't know exactly how this instance goes, but I think a lot of Srila Prabhupada's disciples were speaking with Srila Prabhupada in one of these room conversations. And Prabhupada was describing to them how the devotees can distribute these books. And Prabhupada was basically saying, like, sir, you're the most intelligent, you're so nice, you're so amazing, but please give up your hogwash and your nonsense and take these books, because they'll actually completely change your life. So we have to ask people, to give up their hogwash, give up their nonsense, and just surrender a little bit, even if someone gives $1, $2, $200, anything, that at least take a book and read these books, because what is in these books will be for your topmost benefit. And these books, if one actually reads them, if one actually understands these books, like this one guy that just came for Gaura Purnima, Suresh Prabhu's friend, Zach. Suresh Prabhu and I, we met him in Jacksonville. We were at a spiritual festival. And, he was saying like a whole bunch of stuff, but, Suresh Prabhu convinced him to take these books, and he started reading them. And when he came, he was like, I felt like I wouldn't be doing justice to these books, because what I've read made me realize that I need to come and I need to experience this. So for one who actually reads these books, there's no possible way they won't get this medicine that's for their topmost benefit. These books, this knowledge that's in these books, will bring one to surrender to a bona fide spiritual master, and will give one the proper knowledge by which one can actually render service to the spiritual master. Because if we actually look at ourselves and we actually think about it, who are we to render service to not only just Krishna, who is God himself, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but even to Krishna's bona fide representatives? If we actually take a good look at ourselves, at least speaking for myself, who are we to actually engage in this service to the spiritual master? But we've actually become so fortunate that just by reading these books, we've come to the shelter of a bona fide spiritual master, and we're able to render whatever insignificant service that we can to him. I just read something the other day in the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, which was actually very amazing. If you could pull this up, it's 11.5.3, and you can go to the purport where it starts by saying, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, there we go. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has pointed out that the original cause of offending the Lord and falling down from one's position is not learning how to properly worship a bona fide spiritual master. One who is trained to offer respectful obeisances and worship the bona fide spiritual master automatically offers proper worship to the Supreme Lord. Without the mercy of a bona fide spiritual master, even a so-called religious man will gradually become atheistic, offend the Lord by foolish speculation, and fall into a hellish condition of life. So this is very heavy. This is a very grave statement being made here by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. But it really puts into perspective how dire the situation is, how important it is to properly serve the spiritual master, properly hear from the spiritual master, and not just put on a show of being so-called religious and putting on a show of being so surrendered to the spiritual master, but actually taking very, very seriously the instructions of the spiritual master and making these instructions one's whole life and soul, because otherwise we'll just fall back into the same hellish condition of life that we came into. I'll end this class with one anecdote that I heard from Prabhupada Memories. I heard it a little while ago, so I'll try my best to get the details right. But there was one initiated disciple of Srila Prabhupada who, after Srila Prabhupada's disappearance from our mortal vision, he sort of fell away from the path of Krishna consciousness. He describes, sort of from not properly, following the instructions of Srila Prabhupada. He sort of fell off of his sadhana. He fell away from the association of devotees. But, obviously, in order to come to Srila Prabhupada, he must have been a very intelligent man. So he went and he became a professor at some university. And he was teaching there for some time. I think it was maybe like 20 years or something, where he hadn't chanted, he hadn't met the devotees, and he said he was like going through his school library this one day, and he was just going through different books, and he just pulled a random book off the shelf, and the first thing that jumped out to his eyes was he saw the words in bold, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And he sort of had like this like aha moment where like he was sort of like, like, what have I been doing? and he was like this book, it's like finally, he was basically describing like after all these years, and Prabhupada's still trying to bring me in, still trying to uplift me. I think he said the book was Teachings of Queen Kunti or something. So he said he took that book home and, he read the whole book, and after that he started practicing again. He came back to the association of devotees, and he was able to give up that hellish condition of life that he was living in. So it isn't like the spiritual master, once we make one mistake or don't follow the instructions of the spiritual master for some time, they become so angry with us that they say that, you got your one chance and that's it. But the spiritual master is so merciful that, no matter how unfortunate that we might be to not take full advantage of it, the spiritual master, they'll still keep trying to bring us up. That, no matter what, the spiritual master will always be merciful to us and try to keep bringing us into Krishna consciousness, keep bringing us into devotional service, right? That mercy, like is being described, isn't that, the Guru is so kind and so merciful that you can just do whatever you want and, oh, my Guru is so merciful that he's just going to take care of me. But the mercy of the spiritual master comes by following the instructions of the spiritual master. And those instructions will always be available there for the disciple to follow. It's just a matter of taking advantage of it. Like these books that we're distributing, they'll be in these people's homes, they'll be on these people's shelves for who knows how long. But as I actually got this line from Avaduta Chandra Prabhu, but I often tell people, these books, they don't go bad like your groceries. Because people, especially when I'm at like a Walmart or like an Indian grocery store, people have like this shopping cart full of like groceries and like, oh man, I just spent so much money on these groceries. I can't buy these books. And I'm like, these books, they won't go bad like your groceries. So these books, they'll continue to be in people's lives. They won't expire. This knowledge, it'll continue to be available for anybody and everybody who receives one of these books. It's just a matter of if we'll have the intelligence to actually take advantage of that and be able to get this spiritual vision by which we can get free of this hellish condition of life. So probably a lot more could be said, but I'll end the class there. If anybody has some questions, corrections, comments, we can sort of discuss those now. Giri Prabhu.
So you're saying, like, you're saying the story, like how people have read the book, they're like, wow, this book like really changed my life and stuff like that. But there's some of those people who read the book, like, for example, I meet some people who are like, oh, I already got this book, I already got these books from you guys. I was like, well, I asked them, like, because I like to ask them, okay, did you read the books? Like, what do you think about the books? Stuff like that. And they're like, yeah, some people say that, like, yeah, I read the books, but it's like, it wasn't for me, or like, the knowledge inside was like not like so interesting, or like there was like one guy I literally met, I gave him a Srimad Bhagavatam, and like he said he read the whole Srimad Bhagavatam on Veda base, and even though he read through the whole Srimad Bhagavatam, he still had the misconception thinking that Sai Baba is still God. Like after reading the whole entire Srimad Bhagavatam, he still has this big misconception that Sai Baba is God, and like everyone's this Mayavadi conception or whatever. So like, how do you explain that? Like, even though people read these books, they still like don't have no taste, or like they still have misconceptions and stuff like that.
Yeah, have you heard the phrase that in one ear and out the other?
Yeah.
So, like I was describing earlier, one might, be in the Bhagavatam class, might be hearing lectures, or might be getting personal direction and instruction from the spiritual master. But still they aren't really like acting on it. Still they aren't really doing anything about it. So in order for one to take full advantage of these books, just like the situation that Arjuna is in Bhagavad Gita, one actually has to surrender to the knowledge and information that's in these books. That if one just reads through these books and just thinks that, oh, I'm already, like I was saying, the best, the most amazing, the smartest guy in the whole world. And yeah, I'll like read these books. Maybe it can tell me something that I don't already know. And you're sort of reading from the platform of that you already know everything. Then if you just go through and read these books, you might not find anything so deep and so profound because you're not really looking for anything like that. Right? But we can see that those who are actually inquisitive, those who are actually, looking for some upliftment, guidance, and who really most need this information when they read these books, like this guy that I was reading. There was this other guy that I met also. He actually gave me $100 in Savannah. He came up to me and was like, yo, is this the Bhagavad Gita, man? And I was like, heck yeah, bro, this is Bhagavad Gita. And he was like, bro, I read this book and it completely changed my life. And he was describing to me how, he was looking for answers from so many different places. And he said he didn't get all of his questions answered until he read Srila Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita. So one also has to be ready to receive instruction from Prabhupada's books. All of these things, they're very important, but fortunately, because of the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, even if they read through one of these books and it doesn't, as of now, completely change their life, that eternal benefit is still there, where, it's actually really amazing if you think about it, that this fallen conditioned soul had actually read through Prabhupada's whole Bhagavad Gita, or this guy who's being so unintelligent that he's worshiping Sai Baba, at least he's, read through the Srimad Bhagavatam. So people, they're making an eternal connection with Prabhupada's books. People, they're making an eternal connection to Krishna, where, it's described in Bhagavad Gita, right? There's that verse, Neha bhikramanasosti pratyavayo nividite svapamapyasya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat, that there's no loss or diminution on that path. So, this knowledge or information that one gets, it might not act immediately either. It's described that sometimes these books are like time bombs, where one might pick up Prabhupada's books, or they might meet the devotees and they might think, oh, that wasn't so nice, that wasn't so profound. And sometimes even like 20 years, 30 years, 40 years later, like this one Prabhupada disciple, he was around during Prabhupada's time, he was initiated by Srila Prabhupada, he was living in a temple, and still at one point of his life, he thought, okay, I can do something better with my life. But what's very important, that's actually described in Srimad Bhagavatam 1-5, is that all of these other things, they're just temporary. All of these other things that we're taking shelter of, it's not a permanent situation. So the intelligence that we have that we might think is so great, the situation that we might have that we think is so great, the plan for life that we have that we might think is so great, it's just a temporary situation that we're in. So one might read through Prabhupada's books at this phase of their life, and they might not think so much of it. But eventually, somewhere on their journey throughout life, they'll come to the realization that there is no higher truth, no higher information, there's no higher knowledge than what's here in these books. Because, for example, this guy that's worshiping Sai Baba, he's not going to become free from this hellish material life. Sai Baba is not able to free one from the sufferings of material life. So he might spend this whole lifetime worshiping Sai Baba, but he won't actually get anything out of it. So in his next life, he'll still have to suffer. He'll still have to get a material body. And maybe because he's read through the whole Srimad Bhagavatam, either in this life or the next life or in the life after, he'll come across Srimad Bhagavatam again. And then he'll get the opportunity to take full advantage of it. So we can't just judge the efforts of book distribution just off of its recent or sudden impact, but these books, they have a permanent impact on the soul they have a permanent impact on the jiva. So even if one might, read through all of Prabhupada's books and think that somehow or other they didn't get anything out of it, still they've read Prabhupada's books. So they've made that eternal connection. They've gotten that eternal benefit. So when one is actually ready to get that instruction, when one actually gets to the point in their life where they've been able to realize that all of this that they thought was so great and so amazing isn't actually so great and so amazing, then they'll be like, wait a second, don't I have one of those books on my shelf? Don't I have this big set of books that I got from this enthusiastic guy that I met at some festival or some convention or on some street somewhere where I was on vacation? And then they might read through the books again and they might be like, whoa, where was this when I first read through these books? Right? So we really don't know. It's kind of inconceivable, actually, the benefit that these transcendental literatures have. But that's why we just have to keep on distributing them to as many people as we can. And those who already have the books, keep on encouraging them. No, you please read these books. Oh, I read 5 pages. I didn't really like it so much. No, you just keep on reading. Please. Just keep on reading these books, and by doing that, then you'll be able to see, once their material influence gets sort of cut to pieces by these books, then you'll be able to see. So, does that answer your question? Avaduta Chandra Prabhu?
Prabhu, just for clarification, because I've heard it said that if you take credit for something that you didn't do, then you have to get punished also for something that you didn't do. So that line about the groceries, that wasn't my line. I learned that from Matsya Prabhu. But Matsya Prabhu might have learned it from Mahotsav Prabhu, so I don't know. I think we share a lot of Sankirtan lines, but...
I first heard it from you, though.
It works.
Prabhu, so.
It's a good line. The mantras are powerful. I have a question too, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu.
You were talking about how the spiritual master is merciful, and even if the disciple can't follow, then the guru will be affectionate towards that disciple. But I've been thinking about this lately, how even doing the basics is challenging. And, we make vows at the time of initiation, 4 regulative principles. Why is it that even following these 4 basic vows, it seems like a high standard, you know what I mean? People can't follow those vows, and even doing the basic thing of just people bend the rules, you know what I'm saying? But why is it that even, sincere devotees have trouble following just the basic, tenets of sadhana and devotional service? And
Yeah, we've, it's described how we've been in this material world since time immemorial, right? So, yeah, it's very hard for one who's extremely sick to all of a sudden act and be at a level where a normal, healthy, functioning person would be. And it isn't that we're expected that, once we first hear the holy name, it's like, Christians often use this excuse that, oh no, I'm so fallen, just once I get the mercy of Jesus, it doesn't matter what I do, I can just do whatever I want. Because anyway, I'm such a fallen guy, what can I do but by Jesus' mercy, now I can get eternal life in heaven, right? So it isn't that, the first time one chants the holy name or takes prasadam, it's oh, that's it, I made it, right? But even recognizing that we might have our stumbles, we might have our difficulties, we might not find the process of Krishna consciousness so easy. The point is that mercy of the spiritual master through his instructions, it'll always be there. So, in fact, even in the case of Jesus Christ, he said that one who actually follows that person is my disciple. So, the mercy of the guru is always there. It's always there just for us to take. But that mercy of the guru isn't just some imaginary, Prabhupada would often use that example of the electric shock, which was prominent at the time with one so-called guru, where, the guru would just touch the disciple, they would both faint in ecstasy, and then when the disciple would wake up and the guru would wake up, the guru would be crying and be, oh, I gave you everything I had. That isn't the mercy of the guru. That isn't the mercy of the spiritual master. The mercy of the spiritual master is in his instructions. And, these instructions of chanting 16 rounds, following the 4 regulative principles, it's a commitment for us to take to. And it's a vow that we make at the time of initiation. But it isn't if we have some problems, we have some difficulties, we become rejected by the spiritual master, right? But the spiritual master is always willing to give us those instructions to keep helping us come to that platform. And it isn't that the guru will change the instructions and be my disciple is so fallen so they can do whatever they like. But the guru, through his instructions, he's always making that mercy available to the disciples. And if one fully dedicates their life to following the instructions of the spiritual master, the spiritual master will, through his mercy, he'll take the disciple with him back home, back to Godhead. Like, I remember there's this anecdote for one of Srila Prabhupada's godbrothers, who not only gave Srila Prabhupada himself so much difficulty, but, after like Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur disappeared from our mortal vision, he caused so many problems with like the split of the Gaudiya Math, so many difficulties for so many devotees. And after this godbrother of Srila Prabhupada finally left this planet, Prabhupada's disciples were like saying like, oh, like Prabhupada, like it must be so good that this like burden's finally gone. And one disciple said, Prabhupada, what was the destination of this disciple? And Prabhupada was like, oh, my Guru Maharaj, he took him with him back home, back to Godhead. And the disciples were sort of like shocked. They're like, this guy? Like he's been giving you so many problems, he's been giving us so many problems. But Srila Prabhupada said he did so much service for my Guru Maharaj. So it isn't that when one takes shelter of the bona fide spiritual master that one becomes automatically purified. But we know that if we keep trying our best to stick to those instructions of the spiritual master, we'll get the mercy of the spiritual master. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I just have a comment. I was speaking with one senior brahmachari recently, and about the mercy of the spiritual master, the guru doesn't give up on the disciple. He was explaining to me how Bhakti Vikash Maharaj once sent one of his disciples an email, and Maharaj just put a question mark because he was, like concerned about the welfare of his disciple. And I can imagine like receiving an email like that from your Guru Maharaj, you'd just be like, oh man, like, yeah, that's heavy.
Amayama Prabhu, you had something?
I also, the point that why people that don't have a faith, like the non-devotees and devotees, because you cannot follow any process without faith. You cannot follow. You can follow for some time because it's something new, maybe interesting, but you cannot follow like for a long time, because you don't have a faith, and you cannot have a faith. You don't have a faith because you don't follow. It means if you want to follow, you should have a faith, and if you have want to have a faith, you should follow. This is the point. In the beginning, some blind faith also is required because we don't have like so much experience, but at least we should try. And the people on the streets is also, we can meet many people. They told like, we like your books now really, but honestly speaking, I cannot follow. Honestly speaking, like, I know many people like, they told like, especially like some regulative principles, like, like yesterday also before book distribution, I thinking it would be nice to meet like at least one person who will tell you like, oh, I read like your Bhagavatam, I read your like books, and I'm very inspired, I want to take more. Because it's usually like, oh, I have, it's mean, don't ask me like to take more books. Already I have so much. I read them, I gave to all my friends, but now like just leave me alone. I don't like to speak about this. And I really like the desire, sometimes I think many brahmacharis, like many devotees, they have desire to meet the people. Really, your books is amazing. Can you give me more? Like, do you have some like something else? Like, something like more? Because it is natural desire. It is like absolutely natural desire. If you have taste for these books, to get more books, it's like natural. I remember that me, like my brother, when we start to read the Prabhupada books and Guru Maharaj books, we start to like make some research now. Who have like more books, like which kind of books, like Srila Prabhupada translated, where like he wrote Guru Maharaj, and we like to call the devotees, like, do you have these books? Do you have this book? Do you have this book? It is like natural because you like understand the value of this book. But people, they really don't have this like a faith for these books. And like yesterday I met one guy, he came and told, oh, I like your books, I read your books, And I told, oh, now you can get like more books like for you. He don't know. I go, why? What happened? He told it, oh, this excuse. I told him, okay, at least you still continue to read the books. And he told, I want to join you. I want to come your temple. I want to do some service. I want to stay with you. I told him, no problem. You please come. I took his phone. He took my phone. He was my humble request. Just follow for regulative principle. No, he told me like directly. Now I don't take intoxication and no meat eating. I told, what about another regulative principles? He told, which another regulative principles? So about sex life. He told, actually, this. I follow all this regulative principle also. Like, okay. I don't want to know about all these details. But people, they cannot leave these things. This is the point, because they don't have a faith, and they don't have a faith because the people who is around them, they preaching them non-stop. That's gratify your senses, and they don't have examples. Because of that, Srila Prabhupada mentioned stress this many times, and Guru Maharaj also, fortunately, he emphasized these points. You should give them opportunity to live in Vaishnava communities. Otherwise, it's almost impossible. And nowadays, brahmachari, they can join, for them it's so difficult, but mostly the people, they cannot keep brahmachari. It means like we should give them opportunity to live in farms. Otherwise, it's like what they come like crying, oh, your books is amazing, and then go again in this society, and they're preaching like more intense than you preaching, much more, 24 hours.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's why these farms will change the world, like you said, because it'll give everybody the opportunity to become a lot more free from the influence of Maya. So yeah, we need these farms, and we need them right now. But I guess we'll have to wait a little bit. But hopefully sooner rather than later, we'll have farm communities where millions can come and fully surrender to Krishna. Mataji, do you have any questions? Anything else here? Mishran?
I have two things. I'll make it quick. One, in the verse, it says mitra dvat, that like out of friendship. And so he's actually talking about Maitreya's name, because Maitreya means one who's like friendly. So Vidura is like saying like, because you're supposed to be like friendly, so you should speak to me this knowledge. It's like pretty cool actually. Second thing is that regarding that how he read the Bhagavatam, because that seems like pretty like fantastic, that somebody read the whole Bhagavatam and like didn't become Krishna conscious. So he's either like lying, or he was like, he didn't read it properly, or he's insincere. That's like one of three things. Because if you remember in the preface to the Bhagavatam, Srila Prabhupada writes that the whole subject matter is like arranged with Sanskrit, word for word translation, translation itself and purport, so that at the end of finishing the 9th canto, one is sure, and he says sure, to be a God-realized soul. So when one like gets through the 9th canto, and he's not a God-realized soul, means not like, at least like accepts Krishna as like God, then like either he hasn't gone through it like sufficiently, or like he's insincere in his reading. Just like a scholar may like read it, but like he's doing so out of like insincerity, so he'll never derive benefit like that. But like otherwise, yeah, it doesn't like line up. Likely, and also it seems really unlikely that somebody read the whole Bhagavatam like online. People have like difficulty reading it in like a book form, and reading online is like way more difficult. So it seems like he probably just went through the translations, which if you just go through the translation is like, so I just want to make that point, because that seems like,
I don't think he was like that.
yeah.
He knew some verses actually.
He likely just read the verses. I highly doubt he read the purports, because if you read even the first canto of the purports, it's like, how can you accept Sai Baba as God unless like you're an idiot, It doesn't make sense. So
That's why
Yeah, those are some really good points. Also, the fact that your name is Mitravan and you're like the friend of everybody, and you brought that up. Thank you. All right. I guess it's time now. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai.